Can you believe for almost 2 years, for almost 2 whole years, we have been tracking the prices of generic silver, which are things like basically rounds that aren't coins, versus more premium products. We have tons of data to give to you, and honestly, for the first time, I am left a little bit speechless because we all have ideas based on what we think silver will do and how that affects premiums, all that kind of stuff. But I am kind of shocked at where we are today. So let me show you a little bit of what we're going to talk about. But we have right here, if you look in the green, this is our more generic stuff, the things that are more like rounds and bars that are not government issued, that tend to be the cheapest form of silver you can buy. And as you see, we started right here. We have the price, we have the spot, we have the premium and the weight, and we have the entire year of 2024. All of the purchases I made, roughly $100 a month, because it's a nice even number, and basically calculate all the metrics right here in the green. When we go to the blue, we have the more expensive stuff, things that were issued by governments, and we have the price, spot, premium, and weight. And if you look down on these premiums, you will see reflected they're significantly higher than the premiums here in the green. Very, very interesting stuff there. So we took all of that and we averaged basically those numbers. So our generic price paid for that entire year, which is 12 months, paying roughly $100 a month. Yes, $1204.41 is what I paid for that year. Our government bullion here, $12.70. Generic premiums, we paid $96, so almost $100 in generic premiums over that year, where we paid almost $300 in premiums there in the government issued bullion. The average generic premium being $2.34 over that year, and for our premium stuff, almost $8 an ounce. Isn't that crazy to think about now? And then we have our generic weight. And this is where things get crazy, folks. We were able to buy more ounces at a cheaper point because we weren't paying crazy premiums. As you can see, we have 35 versus 39. So a handful of ounces there, and that's going to make up a big difference, because our first quarter we tracked, spot was at $24, half of what it is today, which is just crazy to think about. That was only a year or two ago. Here at quarter two, we're sitting at $29, a pretty big jump. Then we went to 31 in quarter three. We locked it in quarter four, back at 29. Then at quarter one of this year, 34. Quarter two, which ended in the month of June, $36. And we're sitting here at the end of quarter three at $46, another $10 gained. We noticed that 58% is what the growth of silver has done on this year, almost 60% growth, which is absolutely crazy. And we'll get to all of the numbers here in a second, but I want to show you how I basically put this all together. So this is our generic bullion right here. And I've put all the same metrics right here in, and then when we have a difference, spot for the first quarter was $24.60. Well, I went ahead and subtracted that, and then we went to quarter two, did the same thing. Quarter three, quarter four, quarter five, which is really quarter one of 2025, quarter two, and our last one, as you can see, we locked it in at 46.31, which was on the 28th of September. And we have our differences here. Notice how much we have made on each of these ounces. $18, $19, $20, $16, $12, $14, $11. So our quarter movement up to this point, $636 gained here, for a total amount of that $1,200 of $1,840.81. And that is the story, folks. We had a situation where government bullion, which is right here, was absolutely demolishing, and I do mean demolishing by like $600 or $800, the generic stuff. But the question was, when we have a bunch more of our generic silver than we do our beautiful silver, does that end up changing whenever spot prices go up? And as we know, when spot prices go up, premiums tend to go down. So there's a little asterisk, but the big asterisk that we have is in how we got our numbers and the fact that many of these, whenever the prices are high, are not going to necessarily be sold because people are holding on to them because they're more valuable. So not only was it much harder to find our premium silver for sale recently, it was much harder because the premiums also tend to go down at that time. So we'll reveal some numbers here shortly, but same rules apply. I put in my price, spot, premium, and weight. I calculated the difference over each quarter, and as you can see here at quarter 3, we had a crazy change happen as we go through this. We ended the quarter 3, $573 right here in movement. Total value $18.44, which is a huge difference. When you look here, we had 235 last quarter. 1440 was the word there, and then here 1600. So it was almost double the movement. But now that silver is so dang high, it has narrowed this gap significantly. But like I said, the big asterisk is whenever I went in to look for these pieces, Cameroon cheetah, Jurassic Park, most of the sales were in June or July because people are starting to hold on to these pieces rather than flip them. And so it was really hard to find numbers that lined up accurately with where silver is right now. And we can see that reflected over here. If we see numbers that really didn't change much, so we have, for example, this one right here, which is the Barbados Pelican. It was $46 in June, $47 here. That one didn't sell again until July, and we didn't have any updated numbers on that. So would it actually sell for $47 today? Highly doubt that. It would probably be in the 51, 52 range. So it'll be interesting as we finish out this project on quarter 4. Do these have some updated numbers on them that reflect what I imagine a lot of these will be when we start to see, 50s, 55 in that area. But as of right now, folks, take a look. I plugged it all in here, and we have our quarter 3 gains and losses for generic. We're positive $636. We are actually lower in our gains and losses for government bullion because our premiums were so high, $573. This is the first time that the generic is on top, and I'm completely shocked about that given the scheme of things. But the total value is just a tick higher in the government issued versus the generic. It's almost immeasurable. It's just $4, but that's my question. As these things kind of move forward, what do we end up seeing when we start to see a lot of these coins that just haven't sold in 3 or 4 months sell again? Or is it one of those things that we don't see them sold again for some time? I don't know the answer to that. But this is our chart we made. Here's our generic gains and losses over time. Much more volatile in the generic, and then the premium just tends to slowly rise. So very interesting there. Right here we have our total value. Once again, blue right there, and now they're basically kissing. We've made a snake in the totals, but we still have generic kind of in the better trend just because the volatility seems to be a bit more. But as silver tends to go up, which we very well could see $50 an ounce soon, we'll see how that shifts. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll be here to report on it in Q4 in December. So make sure you're paying attention, and make sure you go back and check out if you have any questions about how I gain the data, how I measure the efficacy of pricing, all that kind of stuff. It's in previous videos. It's no need to rehash it out because most of you have seen the series. But if you do have questions, I encourage you to go back to those videos and take a look. But that is what we have for you. Very interesting stuff today. So normally this would be the champion, but I think I can comfortably say as of right now, because of the big asterisks and not knowing what these coins are going for, because they just haven't sold on places like eBay where I get an actual price that they sell for, I must say today the winner is our more generic variety of silver. Both of them are winners, but this one this quarter just happens to be a hair more. So very interesting stuff. Something I necessarily didn't expect, but that's what we have. So as always, please remember to stay classy and current with the culture of currency.